some photos of my mission, and if anybody has any questions, we can talk about it. Or I don't know if we should do the questions first. How do you usually do it? A little bit of both. Okay, I'm going to go through the beginning and just kind of explain what these things are. This is my first area. I was in a place called Babahoyo. And here were a few of the members that helped us a lot. This is my companion. Her name was Hermana Judd. She was my trainer. And Carolee, you can see right here, she was the first person I got to see baptized. So her story was really cool. We would go, a lot of it looked like this, a lot of rice fields and different sorts of fields. I also had a sector that was in the city. Here's Gregory. He is the nephew, I think, of Carolee. So they got baptized together. And we worked with them a lot in my training. This is them again. I ate a duck one time for my birthday. They gave me a duck, and they actually killed it right in front of me. So that was kind of fun. I got to see that. The food there, they had a lot of things. They had something called encebollado, which was a soup with yuca, with also potatoes, with fish, with a lot of different things, and onions. They just kind of mixed it up, and they would put corn kernels on the top. And they called it encebollado, and everybody would tell me that it was the second best soup in the world. I don't know how true that is, but that's what they would tell me. So we ate a lot of soup and a lot of rice. What'd you say?
What's the first best soup?
Something Italian, some sort of Italian soup, they would tell me. So I ate mostly in this sector, especially, I ate a whole bunch of rice and chicken. Rice, a big mountain of rice, and a little bit of chicken. And then it would always be 2 courses. So the first course would be a really hot soup. And the joke in the mission was that it's so hot outside that your sweat would kind of cool down your soup for you. And then it would be a little bit cooler. So you got soup, and then you got the mountain of rice with a little bit of chicken. And if you were lucky, you got a little bit of Jell-O with sweetened condensed milk on top. Everybody loved Jell-O. Sometimes they Jell-O as a juice. They would just put Jell-O and water, and they would eat it. So this is Babahoyo. They had a city place. Then you had what they call the campo, which is just open fields. And then there was a little in between. They called this place the sticks. There was a lot of houses on stilts, and when it flooded, it would rise up to the house.
So if you translate Babahoyo, what does that mean in English?
I don't think it has a direct meaning, but Baba does mean slime. So the joke was it means slimy hole. But anyways, so Babahoyo, this is another place. This is the bridge we would walk on every day to get to the other part of our sector. It wasn't very secure. I remember getting on it and kind of feeling it wobbly. You just walk real fast and hope nothing happens. Then, it's backwards or sideways, but this is encebollado. They would sell this for breakfast and for lunch. It was super heavy. I don't know why. It wasn't a dinner food. It was just a breakfast food. And they loved their fish. They were really proud of it. This is also for my birthday. This is Mayra and Robinson. And they're the ones that killed the duck for me on my birthday. This is me eating the duck. It was a purple meat. I don't know if that's normal for duck meat or what. It is. So that was right after they killed it. This is also very typical. This is called bologna. And they would take these plantains and they would fry them up and chop them up and then deep fry them again and make these little balls of plantains and cheese and pigskin. And it was actually really good. They ate it for breakfast, and it was called bologna. So that was bologna.
It wasn't that good.
I thought it was good. It was pretty good. They would eat these things, and then there was a version that was a little more liquidy, and it was called tigrillo, because they would fry the what is the word? The plantains to where they looked like a little tiger, because it started getting the little spots. I didn't realize how much food I have in this. This was baboyo this is kind of what it looked like. I think later they actually got some streets in there. There's a lot of dogs running around. In this picture, actually, there was a dog back there. If you can look on my hand, I'm holding a big rock because I was scared. So that's why we took the picture. I don't think you can even see it. The dog was way back there. But there's some mean ones in there. This is me. This is an example. We got the soup, and then we got the rice, and then we got the chicken. This is a little bit more chicken than usually they would give us a little bit less. What else? This was still, a lot of these are baboyo. Let's see if we can go in here. It's a little bit out of order. My next sector, I got moved out of there after my training. This again was baboyo. And I moved to a place, this was my breakfast, until I learned how to cook something different. So I would eat this, and then I learned how to cook some eggs and toast, and a carrot and an egg. So their eggs were a little bit different. I would play chess. Oh, this is... I don't know why the duck keeps coming up. Okay. This is Gregory and Carolee when they got baptized. This was a cool moment for me. I couldn't speak very much Spanish whenever we were preparing them to be baptized, and I would just speak with the scriptures. So my companion would say something, and then I'd open up the scriptures, and I'd be like, I got this really cool scripture to share with you. And it was really cool to see the change. And I actually got to go back and see and actually understand them and talk to them in Spanish. And it's really beautiful. They're still active today. They have a few callings in the church. They're really awesome examples of faith. Yeah.
Okay. So whenever y'all heard me say this in the talk, but when we came back, we went to go visit, we were going to go, gave her the option to see anything she wants in Ecuador. This is what she wanted to, this is who she wanted to see first. So that night, right after she was released, we went to the temple to baptize for the dead with her very first converts. It was really cool. So he baptized her, and just before he baptized her, he said, "Now I get to baptize you." Isn't that kind of sweet? And then I got to baptize his aunt.
So right after I went to my training here, I got moved to a different place called Metropolis, and this place was super city. I went from the outskirts of Ecuador to a pretty city part. They had what a lot of, the word is urbanizaciones, or gated communities. So there was a lot of gated communities, and we would get in, we'd have to give our ID to the person, we'd get in, and then we could contact or talk to people inside the gated communities, but we had to be a little sneaky about it because they would boot you out if you were too disruptive. So it was kind of fun. We did a lot of sneaking around in the urbanizations, trying to find some people. And we got to see a lot of cool success. This is my companion right after Sideways. Her name is Hermana Ruiz. And she taught me how to do something called references. So I was also helping people figure out how to call their references and thank you. How to do referrals from Facebook. So we got to do a lot of Facebook videos, and that was really fun. There was also, after 6, they started getting a lot of bugs in this area. So I was used to getting 2 ice cream cones in the nighttime, and I would eat them throughout the day. But I couldn't do it in this sector because you can't really tell, but there's a bunch of tiny little gnats that would fly in your face and up your nose. And you would try to block your face like this with Books of Mormons, and they just go up your nose and in your hair. And you'd get home, and they're all littered over your clothes, and then they stick to your sweat. So that was after... That was after 6. After 6, it was, you got to get some, meetings at that time, because if not, you got bugs on your face. This is, the biggest attraction in Guayaquil is probably the lighthouse. They called it El Faro. And the famous thing about it is that it's 500 steps or something. I did this a few times. It was right inside of our mission, which is really fun. You can kind of see in here, this is what the gated communities look like. It was like these cookie cutter houses. And a lot of them, they were pretty big. They were smaller than neighborhoods like this. And it was a lot of working class, so not a lot of people were out in the streets. And we couldn't knock doors. But those who were out in the streets, we talked to them, track them down. Oh, yeah. So right after my training, I was still kind of learning the language. I was still kind of, I didn't really understand a lot of things in Spanish, and she was really patient with me. And at the time, we were doing this work with referrals, and I started getting kind of stressed out. I was like, oh, this is a lot to do. This is so much to do. Hermana Ruiz, we got to do this and this and this and this. And Hermana Ruiz is so chill. She is one of the chillest people I know. She would kind of, one time I was like, Hermana Ruiz, we got to get going. We got to do this. And she just kind of looks at me. I'm like, Hermana Ruiz, come on, we got to do this. And she just kind of looks at me some more. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do it myself. I started doing the work. And she looks at me some more. And then she reaches down in her desk and starts fumbling around for something. I'm like, what is she doing? I'm over here trying to get something done. And she pulls out a book called Adjusting to Missionary Life. And she whips out and she dusts it off and pulls it out to the page, Managing Stress. Stress management. And lays it on my desk. And she goes, I think this would be a really good read. She would also, so right after she would, she'd read that book a lot, and she would leave it on her nightstand. If she ever thought I needed a little help, she'd be like, man, this book is just so good.
I'm gonna
Are you going to fix it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. There we go. She's like, man, this book is just so good. You really should read it sometime. So she was really kind. It was a nice way to tell me to repent. So we were only together for one transfer, which is 6 weeks. And then when she moved out, I received my next companion, and her name was Hermana Francisco. They were both from Mexico. So I had 2 Mexicanas. This is, let's see here. This is us doing some Facebook work. We would have to take some videos and send it out. This is one of our converts, Estefania. They got married and then she got baptized, which is really special. They have a little baby whose name is Moroni. So that's kind of fun. Then afterwards, I don't know if there's another picture. I got my companion, Hermana Francisco. I don't know if you can see her on here with the red dress. She's from Mexico, and that was really fun. Here is, I don't know how many of you heard the talk, but that's Jacob, the guy who got baptized before Roxana. So this was his baptism. This baptism was actually really crazy because we get to the church, we get everything ready, and then we get a call saying, oh my gosh, Hermana Gutierrez, who's that guy in the back, who's going to baptize them, he doesn't have pants to baptize them. He doesn't have white pants. We're like, what? Hermana Gutierrez. And so we had to go back to the house to go get the white pants. And on the way back, our car breaks down in the middle of Ecuador highway. And there's just buses riding across as people are honking. Everybody's just going around the car. And we're just stuck in the middle and in Ecuador, 2 lanes become 6 real easily. So everybody's just driving around. Finally, someone gets behind us and pushes us, and the car starts again, and we finally get there. And the funny thing was afterwards, I don't know, the guy with the suit, his name is Pedro. He goes, whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? He was trying to make a statement, oh, it's the adversary's fault. It's Satan's fault. He did this. But his wife just goes, Hermano Gutierrez, it's his fault. It's his fault. So they got baptized, and that was a really cool thing. There was also a lot of iguanas on the mission. This is a video of me throwing a few baby iguanas off the roof.
She got famous for this. No one would touch the iguanas except
They were really tiny.
Everyone we talked to, they're like, oh, we've seen that video.
I don't know if this is the right one. I think so.
But she just went in and cleaned up.
There was about 6 of them. They were really fast, but they were really tiny. And they wanted to get an exterminator, but I was like, no, you can just throw them out. Just throw the iguanas out the roof. So I threw about 6 out, and then the next day they said there was more. So I don't know how they got back, but This was, okay, these are called monegotes. The monegotes are made of, they're paper mache, and they would fill them up with fireworks. And on the new year, they would blow them up. Kind of like a tradition, new year, new me kind of thing. So this is an example, but they would get huge. There's some that probably as big as up to that. They're ginormous, probably about up to this wall right here in the kitchen. They're so big. But this is just a little baby one. We got to see a lot of those on the mission. And on the mission, we weren't allowed to bring our phones out because it was a little dangerous. So they would give us these tiny little phones called Nokias. And you could put your camera chip in there, and the camera chip would take pictures, but they ended up looking like this. But they're kind of fun. They're a little aesthetic. We like to take those.
What's the story behind that?
This is just an avocado that I really liked. I used to hate avocados before the mission, and I went on the mission, I started loving them. So, I don't know, Ecuador avocados are just better. On the mission we had, in this time, there was a few lockdowns. There was some civil unrest. And so one of the worst ones, we had to stay in the house for about a week. But the members gave us a lot of food. So we were able to be all safe and sound on the inside with lots of salticas, which are basically Ritz crackers. I didn't see, actually, everybody told me when you go to Ecuador, it's going to rain so much. Be prepared. I actually didn't see that much rain. There was about maybe 3 weeks of heavy rain, but I never saw any flooding. I was kind of disappointed. I thought I would see more rain. I actually loved the rain. But the one time it did rain, I broke in my docks at that point, so I was happy. This is Pedro. This is right after, oh no, this is a different baptism. In this baptism, the power would go out. There was these light cuts that would happen probably it changed throughout my mission, but at the worst point, there was about 3 a day. So they were about 4-hour chunks. So in the morning time, they would go out, in the night they would go out, and then in the early morning, they would go out again. So during one of these cuts, it was right during our baptism, and so we had to fill it up with the outside water. But the members all helped us. It was a really cool spiritual experience, actually. Oh, this is my last transfer. This is probably one of my favorite stories on the mission. This lady's name is Juanita, and we found her one day. We were walking through the urbanization, and she called us over. She said, hey. She had bright red lipstick on, a hat on, she had an umbrella. And I said, oh no, this looks like a Jehovah's Witness. And so I was like, I think she's going to Bible bash us. But we go up and she gives us a big kiss on the cheek. And she's like, I want you to come over and tell me the word of God. And so we're like, okay, when can we come? She's like, Tuesday at 4. Like, perfect. We wrote it down on our calendar. And it was kind of like, she was kind of repeating herself. I was a little like, I don't know, we'll put it on our calendar. We'll see if we're around at that time. And then Tuesday rolls around, and we were in the neighborhood. We're like, well, let's go see if Juanita's there. And we go and find the house, knock on the door, someone answers. And we're looking for Juanita. And they're like, oh, she lives around back. And anyways, Juanita comes, pulls out, and shows us to her tiny one-room apartment that was probably about as big as this carpet, that had a bed and a shower, and she had pulled out 3 little bathroom stools, the kind that you use to reach your sink, just right there for us. And we had brought a member with us, and so she's like, oh no, let's go outside. So this was our first lesson with her. We went outside because there wasn't enough space, and we taught her the restoration. And when we first taught her, she repeated a lot of the same words. She's like, I know, God is our Heavenly Father. God is our Heavenly Father. And Jesus Christ is His Son. I'm like, yes, Juanita, that's awesome. She would repeat it over and over and over again. And we gave her a Book of Mormon. We asked her to read. And I wasn't super sure if she kind of repeated a lot of the same things. But when we came back, she had already started repeating some of the stuff that we had taught her in the first lesson. And each time she would do the reading and she would learn, and she came to church, and little by little those repetitions they would slowly go away. She ended up getting baptized. Let me see if I can find a picture.
Aleesia, how does she know to flag you down? Oh, she's
I don't know. I don't know how she knew, but she just waved us down. I don't think so. I think she must have seen missionaries before, but no, that's a different lady. But she got baptized, and she is so sweet, and she gave her testimony at the end, and it was void of any repetition. It was the coolest experience for me to see someone change so completely. So actually, getting her baptized, she had put the date herself, the 12th of, I think it was February, something like that. And when the day came, she's like, no, I'm not getting baptized. We're like, what? You already said, you already agreed. She's like, no, I'm not doing that. We said, Juanita, we will have a baptismal service Friday at 6. Pray to know if you want to be a part of it. And we left her a little paper with all the things she needs to bring. And we left, and my companion at the time, she's like, I don't know if she's going to do it. And then the next day, we get a call right in the morning, and Juanita goes, what else do I need to bring? And so she totally did it. This is her listening to, the talks. I don't think I have another picture of her. This is her listening to conference. She found a friend in the church, and they would go and listen to conference together. It was really sweet. During this time, I was training my hija, or my daughter, they call it in the mission. Her name was Hermana Yerman. And she came in from Utah. I kind of jumped around here, but...
You use the word urbanization. What is that?
It's a gated community. So I don't know if there's a direct translation. This is Hermana Francisco. She loved cats. She would always say, this color I don't have. And then she would pick up the cat. I said, don't do that. They have diseases. And she didn't care. She loved them. What else? And then, this was my last day. Juanita was the last baptism I had in Metropolis before I left. So I got to see everybody leaving, and I got to say goodbye, which is really special. And then I moved. So before, Metropolis was in a super gated area. I got moved to an even more gated area. It was called San Borondon. And this is basically, you got 2 highways going down, and then you got gated community, gated community, gated community, like 15 minutes walking in between. So in order to get to your appointments, you would have to take something called taxi ruta, which is a little car, a taxi tab. That was 50 cents. You'd get in, they'd drive you to the next gated community, you'd get off, and you'd go and do your appointments and finding around. So this is kind of what it looked like. We would have to cross these big highways. This is on the Nokia, the super quality iPhone camera that we could take out in the street. That's my companion, Hermana Costa. She was from Brazil. And there was these huge, you can see these huge buses, and the cars would come, and I would watch these people directing traffic. A lot of times there weren't any, but whenever they would be there, they would direct it like this. They'd just tell the cars to come, and then when they felt like it, they would go, stop! And the cars would just stop, like magic. And so we started picking up the same tricks, and then when we wanted to cross the road, we'd tell them to go, stop! And then we'd run across as fast as we could. And then we would cross the roads like that.
That story did not bring me much comfort.
we would walk across. There weren't any sidewalks either, so we would just kind of have to walk as close as we could to the grass. And then
What do those little taxis look like?
they're just regular taxi cars, but a lot of times they didn't have floors, or they were kind of Ecuadorian. This is Hermana Costa when we were companions. This is something called pate. Oh no, these are arepas. But patacones kind of look similar. That's with the plantains. They would mash them up and fry them, and they're like little chips. This is actually arepas, but the patacones look very similar. They just look like round little chips, yellow chips. Oh. The arepas, I don't know if I made them right actually, but I just put flour and water and salt. But Hermana Costa knew how to make them really good. This is so, in San Borondon, there's these big urbanizations, and this is where it felt like I was in Florida. It felt like a Florida resort kind of thing, because there were these huge houses, and they had big gate guards, and you would give them your your identification, and then you would go in and you couldn't contact very much or knock on doors. But there was this tiny little hole place called Buijo, El Buijo Histórico. And this was a lot more open, and we would go contacting there a lot of times. This is one of the families we got to see be baptized. This is Moises and Nixon. And Shirley, the mom over there, was a less active member. And so we found them through there. And when we got to teaching Moises, after I think it was the first lesson, or maybe the second, we invited him to be baptized. And he said, "What took you so long?" And he got baptized within 2 weeks. He was very ready. And then his stepdad got baptized right after that. What else? These are a few other people who they got baptized and they actually got pregnant right after. So that was really cool. They're going to have a baby pretty soon coming up.
They struggled to get pregnant for a long time before the baptism.
Uh-huh.
And so after getting baptized, they felt like that was kind of, God was helping them out.
So that was a really cool experience. We also, so after Hermana Costa, I had Hermana Wilden, and we actually had a rat infestation in our house, and we had to catch a whole bunch of rats. So this was one of the ones we caught. We would get these Tupperwares, and we just catch those rats and throw them out the door. I think we caught up to 9. There was a whole bunch in the rat traps. And this is one of them. She actually threw it over the wall. But we had a good time. Me and Hermana Wilden, she's from Arizona. This is one of my favorite, Hermana Arguello. She would come contacting with us all the time. And she was so funny. She would love to go talk to people on the street and invite them to pray with her. She would say, "Hey, can I say a prayer for you?" And the people would be like, yeah, I guess. And then we'd pray with them, and then they'd listen to us. She was like our secret weapon, our superpower. This is more, we found this guy on the side of the road, and we taught him a little bit, and he let us play a little bit of his Scrabble game. This is a place in the center called Mercado Artesanal, where they would make cool Ecuadorian things and dresses and hats and stuff. Another members' lunch, we would go contacting. This is the rat traps we'd use to trap them. This was all our hermanas ensemble, the zone. It was really cool. One time I lost the keys on one of the buses we took. And so I lost the keys, and we were running home because we were getting late, or we were about to be late, and we managed to get there just in time. I pull out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have the keys. She's like, what do we do? And then the window was locked, and we found the way to do it was jumping over the back door. So this is someone. No, I'm the one in the pink. But we would jump over the back, and then that's how we would get in until we got the keys. This is Alex and Yolanda. This was really cool. Alex, we were going through something. There's a planning site on, I don't know what it's called in English, Preach My Gospel app. And you go through, and it has registered all the people that have ever been taught before. And we were going through there. Sometimes the missionaries go through people who have previously been taught and then had since then lost contact or moved away. And we were going through, and we found this one guy who had been taught for like a long time. He had all the lessons. He had come to church twice, but he had never been invited to be baptized. So we called him up, and in the first phone call, we said, hey, do you want to get baptized? And he said, yes. And so he totally got baptized. We went to his house. We met his wife, and they prepared themselves, and they managed to make this covenant with God. It was really special. It was a really cool miracle. This is another iguana. The Hermana Wilden actually caught this one. I didn't touch it because it was a little bit bigger. But we caught an iguana. This is in El Buijo. This was a new convert who was blind. He couldn't see very well. And then he had been a member for some time. One time we took him to one of our lessons, and I had to go to the bathroom, and so I said, wait right there, Gregorio, I'm going to go to the bathroom. We went to the bathroom. When we came back, he had walked down the road, and he was blind. He was standing in the middle of the road. I said, Gregorio, no! But we managed to get him. So this is El Pardo again. This is still in San Borondon. This is in San Borondon. This was one of our taxi drivers, the taxi rutas. We got in the car and we had a conversation and we said, hey, do you want to be baptized? And he said, yes. And then we went to his house, met his brother, and they got baptized. So that was really cool.
Wait, tell him about his clothes.
Oh yeah, so we go to the baptismal fire, everything's ready, and then we realize, oh my gosh, oh no, Andy doesn't fit the baptismal clothes. And so we were like, what do we do? Luckily we had 2 other elders in the ward that would help us, and they took him in the bathroom and they're like, oh, try on this shirt. Everybody's like trying to get him. Finally they found a shirt that's big enough, and then they had the jumpsuit just up to the waist, and then they had a different shirt on top. So in the back it was just rolled in, but he did it. He got baptized, so that's the most important. This is in San Borondon. I was wearing these Croc shoes and I got a hole in it. And I was walking around getting some dirt in my shoe. I was like, you know what? I probably should switch. So those are really comfortable shoes though, up until that point. This is at the very end of my time in San Borondon. They had a testimony meeting where all the people, all the converts came and shared their testimonies, which was really, really sweet.
So most of those people are either your converts or families of your converts?
Yes, they with some members as well. It was really cool to see. And then I moved to a place called Semanes. And Semanes was so San Borondon was these gated communities. Semanes was very city. And it was super tiny. It was probably, we could run the whole sector in 15 minutes probably, from one end to the other. So getting people to go to church was really fun because we could just walk 15 minutes, pick up everybody, and then go to the chapel. And here, I was with someone called Hermana Turnbow, and it was really fun to work with her. We got to see, that's kind of what it looks like, the city part. We would go knock on doors and just talk to everybody. This is one of our lunches, her son. His name was, I actually don't know his real name. He would prefer to go by Elder Pita. So he would just want to be called Elder Pita every time. That's his last name. This was actually a sewer that would run through Semanes, and it smelled really bad. But I can't smell because I lost my smell to COVID. So every time I would walk by I still can't smell. I still can't smell. I can tell when something smells bad or good, but I can't tell you what it is. So I would walk past this and I would be unaffected, and my companions are like, oh, what? You can't smell this? And they're like, it's lucky you can't smell. But it was beautiful. On picture it looks really nice, but it smelled really, really, really bad, apparently. I wouldn't know. In this assignment, we got to see, we had a special assignment to go see other sectors and see how they work over there. So I got to see my old converts. I went and worked in that sector again. Got to see them, and it was really cool to talk with them. And then I had Hermana Heath. She's awesome. She was one of my favorite companions. She was really, really, really cool and grew my testimony a whole bunch. Fun to work with. We helped this guy named Christian make a relationship with Christ. He's actually moving to Utah. We didn't know that until after he got baptized. He's like, by the way, I'm moving to Utah in a few months. Or a year maybe. But it was really cool. He was very, very, very smart, and he was scared to make that final decision. And so one of the ways we helped him, we gave him, there's a verse in the Book of Mormon that says, I, Nephi, said unto my father, I will go and do that which the Lord has commanded. And we told him to switch out the father with the missionaries. So I, Christian, said unto the missionaries, I will go and do as the Lord commanded. And he got baptized. This is, whenever we met Valerie, she is so she was so ready. Valerie was listening to the missionaries, no, the Jehovah Witness missionaries for 3 or 4 years. She was listening and listening and listening, and when we came by, we said, hey, do you want to hear a little message? And she's like, well, I don't know. I'm listening to the Jehovah Witness, but I guess all good things come from God. And so we're like, yeah, that's awesome. We go and teach the first lesson, and then we come back the next day, and she said, this is exactly what I'm looking for. This is what I didn't find anywhere else. And then we invited her to be baptized, and she accepted, and she got baptized within 2 weeks. It was a really, really, really cool miracle. It was cool to see how the gospel, when it hits people's hearts, and they connect with it. So she was awesome. Even from our first meeting, we ended up teaching her stuff about Word of Wisdom a little bit later, and she had already looked it up in her own free time. She was already following it. She just basically taught herself. So she's preparing herself to go on a mission right now, which is really cool. Then my last sector, I got put in a trio, and I trained Hermana Brown and Hermana Olsen. I trio trained, and they both came in. They had 0 Spanish, and we were whitewashing is what they call it. So that means they were putting us in a new sector where no other missionaries had been, or really they were splitting a sector. And so I get there. Usually there's a list of names and addresses so that you can get to know the area and the people. But when we got there, there was nothing. So I remember getting to the house, I go, okay, well, go pray how many people you want to baptize this transfer, and when you come back, we're going to go in contact. And so they went, and then they came back. I taught them how to invite somebody to be baptized, and then we just hit the streets and talked to every single person. When I looked at them, they would invite them to be baptized. And we saw a lot of miracles. They learned so fast. This was actually my favorite transfer because I got to see they would put it in practice. I felt a little bit like it was cool. I would give them this homework, and I said, okay, today you're going to put this in practice. You're going to learn how to start a lesson. And they would do it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again until they got it. And we only had 4 weeks together. This was my last 4-week transfer. And in those 4 weeks, I could take a step back and I would watch them give the lessons by themselves. These 2 girls would come with like little to no Spanish, with no idea what the missionary life would be like. And in 4 weeks, they could do it. And that was a real testimony builder.
Did you give them a copy of that book, Adjusting to the Life of the Missionary?
No, I didn't pull that one on them. But I did show them where it was at. This is a pig we saw in Ecuador. This sector, again, was on the outskirts of Ecuador. So again, we had a lot of humble communities and stuff like that. This was just a few weeks ago, yeah. They threw a surprise party for my Hermana Brown's birthday. And they have a tradition there where you go blow out the candles and someone hits your face into the cake. But they had forgotten Hermana Brown is lactose intolerant. And so she went up there, everybody tried to push her face into the cake. She's like, I can't do it. And then they're like, okay, Hermana Packard, you get in there. And so I was like, okay. And I took one for the team, and they pushed my face into the cake. I don't know if you can see right there. It's in this picture. It looks like I got, oh no. Oh, I lost it. Anyways. This is when we would come back. We had lots of fun, this transfer. This is some bread we ate. Yes, little shops. There's a lot of bread shops. Fun. There are a lot of bread shops. A lot of, I think mostly bread shops. There was also, here's Reuben. It was cool in this transfer because we found these people, we taught these people, and then they got baptized. It was the whole circle. And we got to see that process. And it was cool for the Hermana Brown and Hermana Olsen to see from the get-go. We had, in our mission, we had a culture called the Vision to Baptize. So we would meet these people and offer them the blessings that come from a covenant relationship with the Lord from the get-go, from day one, the first contact. We'd invite them to be baptized. We'd invite them to make covenants with God. And then it surprised me how open and how willing these people were to actually make those promises with the Lord. And you find the people who are ready. So that's what we practice a lot in this transfer. This was my favorite candy and the mission. There were these wafer cookies called galletas de amor, and we would eat those a lot. We found a whole bunch of them on this. Cookies of love. Irma Linda was also a really cool experience. One of Hermana Brown had a feeling to knock a door. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And we went and knocked the door. And we were knocking for a good 2 minutes. And she goes, never mind. I guess my intuition was wrong. And I said, no, your intuition's never wrong. And we just knocked harder. And then after 5 minutes, this little old lady comes out. And she's a little bit hard of hearing. She doesn't hear very well. And she's like, what? And we're like, we're the missionaries. What? We're the missionaries. Ah, yeah. And then turns out we invited her to be baptized, and she accepted from the get-go. And she came to church by herself, and she got baptized 2 weeks later, or maybe 3 weeks later. She was so awesome. She didn't even have a phone. She didn't have any reminders of when the church started. She just wanted it, and she did it. So that was a really, really, really cool example of someone exercising their faith. That's Irma Linda again. So she lived in this tiny little apartment, and she'd let us in. This was on her baptismal day. We went to pick her up, and she locked us in her little patio area. And I was like, oh no, I hope she gets ready in time. So we started trying to call a taxi from outside the gated area so that I would be ready whenever we leave and then go straight to the church. That's how they would call. They would call taxis like this. They would pull down like that. They would also, when you call someone here, they would do this. And just never like this. They would always do this. And when you say how tall someone is, this was offensive because you're saying, oh, they're lesser than. So you'd always tell people they're about this high or this tall. Never like this. Kind of interesting cultural tip. What else? This lady also was a really cool story. Her family was really broken, and then when she put it this way, she said, I've been praying for years and years and years, and I feel like nothing is helping. I'm like, almost, God, where are you? And once we came by and we shared the gospel of Jesus Christ and asked her to pray about the Book of Mormon, she said she got in a room, she knelt down, she prayed. She said the answer came almost like a snap of the finger, as if all the pieces were coming together, which was really cool testimony builder. Her husband is also preparing to be baptized, so he should be baptized pretty soon. This is Irma Linda.
Picture of Roxana?
Yeah, I need to find it. This was when I left my daughters and then I went home. I don't have all the pictures on here. Here it is. This is Roxana and Jacob and her husband Frank. They're actually preparing to get married this February. They got baptized on Valentine's Day, which was really special. It was cool to see. Dante, their little son, he's going to get baptized pretty soon. His birthday is February 7th, I think, so right before their baptismal date. I don't know if anybody has any other questions. I think that's all. This is when I saw my parents for the first time. They didn't tell me, they told me to go in that room, and then I saw them, and that's when I saw my mom for the first time.
You didn't know they were coming?
I knew they were, but I didn't know where they were or when, so they're like, I think something's waiting for you, and I was like, what? And then I found them. I think that's it.
Yeah, do you have the video?
Do I have the video? I don't think I do. Or I do, but it's not on here, I don't think.
Hey, what's your number? I'll send it to you.
210-819-3613. It might be in here somewhere.
Where were you where did you meet your parents?
In the mission office. Where? No, I didn't get it yet. I think it should be up here. This wasn't on my mission, this was right after, but we ate cuy, which is guinea pig. They would eat guinea pig. It was really gross looking. Kind of a jump scare.
Aleesia, was there anything that you were really shocked? or was it kind of just
culturally.
And were you ever like, whoa, that's so different?
They would kiss your cheek to greet you, and that really actually shocked me. I didn't really know how far to go, and I remember like trying to head tap them sometimes. It was kind of a shock. That was one of the biggest things that shocked me. And then, oh, here we go.
I was short, but it's really sweet.
Yeah, so rewind it. It was so beautiful. I would say the only hard parts of the mission were when I was making it hard myself, I think. They all became kind of this refining fires process. And I think that was, the beginning of my mission was probably the hardest part. That was the hardest part. I was kind of faced with a lot of things I wasn't really used to. And I remember getting to a point where I was like, okay, well, this is part of God's plan for me. And once you accept it, there's actually a lot of peace that comes from it. And you kind of change your reality. I also think that was a blessing in disguise because later, I felt like I was prepared for anything else that happened in the mission. I mean, lots of disappointment or whatever, physically tiring, whatever it was. I felt like I had gone through it and Christ was by my side, and that really helped. So I don't know if anybody has any other questions. I don't think I have more, but there's too much. It would take a long time to go through it. Does any?
Great job.
Uh-huh.
How are you adjusting at home? Does it feel very worldly here? Is your house bigger than you remember?
Yeah, it was kind of different. Coming home, I used to tell people, they're like, what are you excited about doing? I was like, I'm just excited to go sit on the carpet and lay down. So that's what I did. I came home, laid on the carpet. The adjusting, it is hard. It's different. In the mission, you're so like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? It's always go, 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 go. You never have a second to stop. One of my trainees, for example, later she told me, she was like, I didn't know we could eat ice cream because we were just going. I was like, oh, sorry about that. But that's really what the joy comes from. You go, 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 and so coming back, it's a little bit of shock. It's like, wait, I do have a second to play a game. Oh, wait, like there is a little time with family, which is so fun, but it is different. It's a different sort of fulfilling that takes a little to adjust to. Also going to the mall was really crazy. I was not used to that. Any other questions?
Was it nice to like see all your siblings after your parents? I couldn't make it to the airport, but I just wanted to hear your little thought of seeing all your siblings for the first time.
It was so fun. It was so fun. It was crazy to see how much Miles has grown. It was crazy. He could talk to me in full sentences. I was like, Miles, you're a grown boy. Okay. I think that's it.
We are going to have a closing prayer, but y'all are free to stay as long as you like. So, Brett, do you mind saying the closing prayer?